let's finish off this episode with a very quick discussion about our quarter century team. This is not going to be the best players. Sportsnet Pittsburgh did first team quarter century, second team quarter century, and they were the best players. We understand who the best players are from the 21st century for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is going to be our favorite players to watch. So our quarter century team when it comes to favorite players to watch. Now, some of that might be some of the best players because, well, the best players are the most fun to watch sometimes, but we'll throw out 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goalies for our quarter century team. Shout out to the Rangers Ed podcast. I saw that they did this over on their show and thought that would be a fun thing to do. So I waited a couple weeks and here we are, quarter century team Horwat. Let's start with our 3 forwards. Sidney Crosby is going to be on my list no matter what. This is where it's going to say, yeah, I said it's not best players, but you can't tell me Sidney Crosby hasn't been the most fun player to watch over the last 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely. In agreement. Sure, it's not best players. It's most entertaining. Well, he's been the most entertaining. So now there's nothing else you could do about it.
Now, here's where people are going to get upset about with me. My next 2 forwards, Patrick Hornqvist and Carl Hagelin.
All right.
I understand that when Evgeni Malkin was younger, he was electrifying, and he probably should be number 2. But these are my favorite players. My favorite players to watch were Carl Hagelin, who for the longest time, anytime I picked up an NHL video game and started a franchise mode with the Penguins, Carl Hagelin was on my team. He was always traded from the Rangers to the Penguins. That was my entire childhood. Then he came to Pittsburgh, not only just played in Pittsburgh, but played on a pivotal line in back-to-back Stanley Cups. More so in 2016 than 2017, but even in 2017, he scores the kind of go-away empty net goal that puts down the Nashville Predators for good. So I loved watching Carl Hagelin because when he was in Pittsburgh, it was some of my favorite memories as a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. And then Patrick Hornqvist was just a joy. Power play, even strength, the way he got under people's skin and then was just dominant, right? 20-plus goal scorer continuously. I'm going to have Hornqvist and Hagelin. Those are my 2 guys. And again, it's just my favorites. I love Evgeni Malkin. He's probably an honorable mention on this list.
Absolutely.
But to me, it's Crosby, Hornqvist, Hagelin. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are solid options. My other 2 forwards are going to be, again, not going to have Malkin. Good honorable mention, but because when it comes to this...
We both did it. Oh, no.
Yeah. When it comes to this... mine was a last-second change, because when it comes to this sort of style we're going for of just who was the most fun to watch. There was something extremely fun about a dominant Evgeni Malkin. You'd shake your head at the boneheaded mistakes and the boneheaded moves, but there was also just something pure entertainment value with James Neal and Phil Kessel. There just was. You talk about feeding families. Sidney Crosby just feeding the puck to those 2. I mean, it was really close to happening, considering the timeline. But yeah, I think that's just a very fun trio of forwards. Obviously, Crosby was going to be there. So much fun to watch. The best player. So entertaining. Phil Kessel setting up on his side. James Neal being that one James Neal season was so unreal. So I think those are just going to be my options for the forwards. And good luck stopping that in entertainment value.
All right. Defensemen. Kris Letang and Brooks Orpik. I don't know. I don't have much else to go with here. I mean, for me, Brooks Orpik was my favorite defenseman early in my life. Like, everybody was talking about, oh, well, you look at Sergei Gonchar. For some reason, one or another, I was young. I did not like Sergei Gonchar. I was like, it was kind of the Kris Letang effect. And that's why I struggled to put Kris Letang on here too, because I'm like, I get so mad. And there was a period in college, and you know this because we were roommates, where I absolutely hated Kris Letang. I did. Yeah. From like 2013 to 2015, I was like, this guy is killing me right now. He is hurting me because it's tough to watch Kris Letang because whenever he makes the boneheaded mistakes, it's like watching Erik Karlsson now. It's like, that's what Kris Letang was in that era. So I struggled with it, but then you look at how good he was when he was healthy for those back-to-back cup runs and how good he's continued to be as he's aged. Nobody expected Letang to be able, especially considering a lot of the stuff that he's gone through, to be able to play 20 minutes a night and be very good at hockey at the age of 37. So I think that mixed with the fact that, I mean, some of the most iconic moments of this generation are authored by Kris Letang. I'm going to put him in here. And Brooks Orpik, the physicality that he brought, I absolutely loved it. I always go back to the 3-hit shift against the Detroit Red Wings at the Civic Arena. That is one of my favorite highlights to go back and watch. So I'm going to go Letang. I'm going to go Orpik as my two defensemen.
I like those choices. I have two completely different ones, actually.
Good.
Just to keep you on your toes here, Justin Schultz and Brian Dumoulin. Justin Schultz set himself apart in that 2017 run. That just doesn't need any more introduction. And Brian Dumoulin, I will continue going to bat for as one of, if not the best defensive defensemen in recent memory for the Penguins. He'd shut you down. Doesn't matter when or how, he'd figure it out. And again, part of those 16-17 runs was just backed by him on the defensive side of things. Again, not a scorer, didn't need to be. Wasn't physical, still didn't need to be. And when it came to Schultz, just something about 2017, Justin Schultz was a different man.
Yeah.
And taking over for Kris Letang being out. So those are my two defensemen. Again, struggled with those choices. Had a couple of changes in there, but I landed on Schultz and Dumo at the end of the day for this sort of for this practice.
Yeah, there's something to be said about coming into a city, winning, and leaving.
Oh, yeah.
You do have and you do respect the people that have been here for a long time and built that culture, and Crosby and Malkin, and we give them their flowers every single show. But there's something to be said about a guy like Phil Kessel, who comes in, wins Stanley Cup first 2 years, absolutely lights the world on fire in his third year, and then he's gone. 3 years, short sample. But what he brought in those 3 years are going to create memories forever. So there's something to be said about that. And I think Justin Schultz fits into the same category. Goaltender, I have a hard time believing we're going to pick somebody different unless you go off the wall and say Thomas Vokoun. But I'm going to say Marc-Andre Fleury because it's the obvious answer.
It is the obvious answer. It's the longevity. It's the skill. It's the numbers. It's the
personality. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the entertainment value. It was the growth of a player in general. I mean, when he first came up playing as an 18-year-old, don't see that ever. Pre-lockout, I mean, it couldn't be anyone else. 3 cups, regardless of what you say about the last 2, he helped one way or the other because it is a whole 82-game season and then the playoffs. At least in 16, there was that 82-game season bit for him. And then 17, genuinely, he helped so much through those first 2 rounds. So it couldn't be anyone else when it comes to the Penguins goalie of since 2000. Yeah, I mean, you could make arguments for Murray for being the 2-time Cup winner in the final for both years, not falling apart necessarily in the playoffs through a long stretch of his career like Fleury did. But you just got to go to Flower.
I mean, you could go with Brent Johnson for one punch, but also I think Marc-Andre Fleury has done enough to be able to outlive the shadow of that one punch from Brent Johnson. So that's an interesting list. Again, it's not the best players because the best players are obvious. You'd go Lemieux, Crosby, Malkin, probably Letang, and Sergei Gonchar and Marc-Andre Fleury. Yeah. Oh, okay. Easy. Well done. And if you were to continue it, you'd throw in guys like Jake Gensel and Chris Kunitz and probably Erik Karlsson when it comes to just pure talent level and not what they did with the team. But just pure talent level. Karlsson's probably on the second team there, but we wanted to do it a little bit differently. So these were our favorite players to watch. I'll call it the super biased quarter century team for the Pittsburgh Penguins.